You are welcome to another episode of HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. It's undeniable that there is in fact a conspicuous relationship between the way R. Kelly is being taken down and the way many other Black American celebrities have been destroyed, even from as early as 1912 when our communities were only fresh from the terror of slavery that predominated the 1800s, and trying to make it in a world on unfair treatment and racial discrimination. Jack Johnson, who was nicknamed the Galveston Giant, born in 1878, was at that time at the peak of his boxing career, and this was not well received by the oppressors of slave mentality who have never wanted to see Black people rise to this level. Jack Johnson then made the most regrettable act for a Black man at that time, yet not illegal, when he chose to elope with a white adult woman whose parents were not in support of the relationship and traveled with her to another state. During his time, a Black man marrying a white woman was considered abominable, and he did test the oppressors 2 times by dating white women twice. It is actually documented that Jack Johnson, who was renowned for his flashy lifestyle and for having married white women twice, further offended the white supremacists when he knocked out former heavyweight boxing champion Jamie Jeffries in 1910. The defeated was already in his retirement but was convinced to take the fight as the only left white hope, and when he lost, there was celebration all around the nation by African Americans who were not allowed to freely jubilate and were occasionally met with violence. It's so weird that someone would become so popular for marrying white women twice, and this was not regarded racial discrimination by the same government we pay our tax dollars to today. Our main reason for bringing up the story of Jack Johnson is to remind you that this great Black American celebrity of the 1900s was later brought down in 1912 for being Black and successful, and particularly for marrying 2 white adult women in acts that were not supposed to be illegal. When Jack Johnson moved to live with his fiancée in another state, the parents of the woman who were used the same way Kim Fox is currently using the parents of Azriel Clary and Faith Rogers today reported a case of kidnap, and using the Mann Act, Jack Johnson was indicted, charged and imprisoned. The allegation was that Jack Johnson had violated the Mann Act by transporting a white woman, Lucille Cameron, across state lines for immoral purposes, ignoring the fact that she was actually his wife-to-be. After spending a year in prison, he was released on bond pending appeal, and he used this window to escape to Canada disguised as a member of the Black baseball team, from where he fled to Europe and lived as a fugitive for 7 years. Jack Johnson then proceeded to defend his championship 3 more times in Paris before agreeing to fight Willard in Cuba, to whom it is believed he intentionally lost, hoping his charges back home would then be dropped, having yielded the championship to a white man. In 1920, he surrendered to U.S. Marshals and served his very undeserved sentence, before he died in a car accident in 1946. There is no doubt that the Mann Act, which was only enacted by the oppressor in 1910 when heavyweight champion Jack Johnson was at the peak of his career, was immediately misused to crack a whip on the successful Black Americans who were bringing a new hope and a smile on the faces of their colleagues. Meanwhile, when he was arrested, one of the allegations as a component of the Mann Act was in fact false kidnap, just like the claims R. Kelly had to deal with when he was arrested. As they say, the apple does not fall far from the tree. It's now the descendants of these very oppressors who are holding the power in today's government, and they will still do anything and take advantage of the very same laws to sideline and destroy African American celebrities using the same syndicated approach. Jack Johnson had to live as a fugitive and later go to prison for falling in love with a white woman, who according to findings turned out to have already been a prostitute on her own before they two even met. If the Mann Act was misused back then to discriminate Black people, and particularly to destroy the career of a successful Black celebrity, why then would anyone be surprised that similar false kidnap charges were used to constitute the Mann Act allegations in order to take down the R&B King? This is why we are right to conclude that the false kidnap charges against R. Kelly are in fact a copy and paste of those that were levied against heavyweight champion Jack Johnson as early as 1912. Sex crimes being matters of great public interest and their enactments being rather vague in nature makes them the perfect choice for wrongfully charging a target to destroy them completely, even though it may be known that they are in fact innocent. That's why it's not uncommon for people to believe that these laws were enacted to help the oppressor to maintain their grip on power to destroy any person they may target, and more especially from the Black American community. It's no wonder that the Mann Act was also referred to as the White Slave Trafficking Act. Black men were beginning to achieve so much in society, gaining power enough to do the things they wanted, and the oppressor found it necessary to target any black man who dated a white woman and could not achieve this from anywhere better than by misusing the enactment. The only difference when it comes to R. Kelly's version of this discrimination is that plenty time has passed and a number of things have changed. The oppressor can no longer do the donkey work of taking down our own alone. They have to use our fellow black people who will sell off their own in exchange for jobs and promotions, and also in exchange for a little bit of finances. This is why we now see Kim Foxx in the position of the oppressor. The victims can no longer be white women for black celebrities' takedowns, as it would look so obvious for the black people the agenda, and this is why we now see black victims paraded in court to confuse our own to imagine this is meant to protect us, yet it's a systematic takedown meant to disrupt the passing on of wealth from one generation to the next among black people. Transgenerational wealth is the biggest contributor to the development of communities, and this they feel should not be allowed among the black people. A new edition of Me Too activists to help mobilize these takedowns, and the use of media to sell propaganda is now possible, unlike back then when there was no way for the masses to know what was being crafted by the oppressors. Thanks to modern technology, it's no easier to share information, and the people can now see whatever is happening, creating more work for the oppressor if they must succeed in these takedown schemes. This thing has gone on for a very long time, and government needs to be checked. But there is no doubt that the same Mann Act which was used against Jack Johnson to stop black men from marrying white women is now being used against R. Kelly in yet another act of discrimination. And sadly, some black people have been oblivious and cheering on. According to Ebony Lee, the media won't report this because they are in on it. Everybody got a huge payday. This is what they do in the entertainment industry, especially the music part. For example, I don't believe for a second that all of those musicians die young at their own doing. The more sensational the death is, the more money they make for pretty much ever. Also, when these sensational situations happen, always pay attention to what's going on in the world of politics, because that's what we are being distracted from. R. Kelly will be freed because what they did to him is illegal. If you wish to take part in a live interview on this channel discussing any of these topics, let us know by emailing us on sashahnnewsroom@gmail.com for scheduling. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.